A British man has been jailed for life on 71 charges of sex abuse against children and babies in Malaysia. It was a Queensland police operation that helped identify 30-year-old Richard Huckle. That same operation has also helped jail 5 other men, including South Australian Shannon McCool, who was sentenced to 35 years in prison last year. Anne Barker reports.
When British police first interrogated Richard Huckle, he had nothing to say about his crimes.
You say that you're not really pro anything except being a paedophile. What do you mean by that?
No comment.
No comment, he mumbled, but he eventually pleaded guilty to 71 offences against children and babies. For 9 years, Richard Huckle posed as an English teacher in Christian communities and orphanages in Malaysia, but it was just a front to prey on children, all under the age of 12. Britain's specialist Crown prosecutor in the case was Anthony Hill.
Richard Huckle was charged with offences in relation to 23 victims, some of the most serious offences including multiple rapes. His victims were all under the age of 13. Some were only toddlers of 2, 3 or 4 years old. Some were only babies when they were abused. There was one particularly disturbing image of a baby not more than 6 months old being assaulted by him.
British authorities caught Huckle as he flew into London after a tip-off from Queensland Police. They found 20,000 images on his computer. 1,100 of them showed him raping and abusing children in his care. He's one of the most prolific child sex abusers known to have operated in Malaysia, and yet Malaysian authorities had no knowledge of his crimes. Authorities in Kuala Lumpur have been criticised for failing to tackle sex crimes against children. And Law Hong Soon from Malaysia's Federal Criminal Investigation Department expressed little more than surprise when he spoke of Huckle's crimes.
With all the relevant, document, not travel document, and he came in as a social worker.
Huckle had boasted of his crimes online. On the so-called dark web, he'd posted a 60-page manual telling other pedophiles how to abuse children and get away with it. But Brisbane-based investigators identified him online after they secretly took control of a website for pedophiles called The Love Zone. They passed the information to British police, who then arrested Huckle at London's Gatwick Airport. Prosecutor Anthony Hill.
The sheer depravity of this case is difficult to put into words.
That same website was run by an Australian man, Shannon McCool, who was last year jailed for 35 years. It's now been shut down, but the investigation is ongoing. 4 other men have also been convicted and 2 men have committed suicide. At least 6 more are still being investigated. British authorities say they have no evidence Huckle committed similar crimes in Britain, even though he travelled home frequently and had connections to 2 separate churches in Kent and London. But Andy Brennan, Deputy Director of Britain's National Crime Agency, says they're now reviewing their own investigation.
Could we have done something differently in relation to the churches, despite the fact we know he's not committed any offences? In these circumstances, could we have done something differently? Are there any lessons that we can learn from this?
Huckle was given 22 life sentences and sent to jail for a minimum of 25 years. The British judge described his crimes as a campaign of rape.
Anne Barker reporting.